At least it wasn't 5:30 this morning.
What time was it this morning?
6:44. Didn't put the alarm on. Still woke up. Body clock. It's just about Tom Shires.
And I remain Mike Ireland.
And this is the Shires and Ireland Agenda. We're about movies and more right here on HWD, Hospital Radio, More Music Variety, and online on YouTube on the Shires and Ireland Network.
This week we'll be bringing you all your favourite items involving the big screen and small.
Mike Ireland, he'll have an awkward spell in a magical edition of our quiz, may contain spoilers.
And we've got a pointed discussion topic involving a hooded man.
All that and more now. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy caught in a landslide? No escape from reality. Cue Mike Ireland.
Who wants to live forever?
Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see.
Old-fashioned lover boy.
I'm just a poor boy. Nobody's something. What's the words?
No, nobody loves me.
I'm just a poor boy. I need no sympathy.
Because I'm easy come, easy go.
Little high, little low.
Can you do the fandango?
Anyway the wind blows,
Okay.
doesn't really matter to me.
That's the first 7 minutes of the show taken care of.
Boom, boom, boom. Sing it.
At number one in the US box office at the moment and riding high here in the UK as well. It's referred to as a Queen biopic, Bohemian Rhapsody, but is it really the Freddie Mercury story?
Well, I don't know. I've not seen it.
Okay, then let's move on to the main element of this. Why is it doing so well? And is there something future biopics can learn? Because it was expected to make a connection with the audience, but so far it's got something like $127 million in 3 weeks in the US market alone. Is it simply the power of Queen, and that maybe and people like me, were underestimating how popular Queen are?
I think for me the music sells it. I think Freddie Mercury, very magnetic, very energetic, entertainer.
Is Freddie Mercury is the Freddie Mercury story of the moment as well? In any sort of way, is it making a connection? Because he was a gay man, he was also an incredibly charismatic man, but there was the fact that he concealed or didn't discuss his sexuality publicly for a long time. There's then the fact that the story has a tragic ending as well. Is it that there is an awful lot going on in this film that is getting people in, and perhaps a diverse range of people coming into it as well? Yeah,
so definitely the human aspect of the story, but just awesome rock and roll. I mean, I know Queen are still making the rounds. They had Paul Rodgers, they had the lad from...
Adam Lambert.
I say Adam Levine, but that's Maroon 5, isn't it? So there's still a force to be reckoned with, but this is as close as you're going to get to seeing that band in their prime. And the fact, tastefully, I think, that it leads up and finishes with the Live Aid performance, I think is a smart move as well, because audiences will leave happy.
Now, does it matter to you that certain elements have been changed, and in some cases quite dramatically? Because I, again, haven't seen...
Quite dramatically in a film? We want none of that drama, thank you.
I think there is very much an implication in the film that if you weren't aware of Queen, that Live Aid was going to be their last show, and yet there was absolutely no historic evidence for that ever being something that the band considered.
Is that just for the poetic license of we need to go out on a high, guys, and therefore when the film ends, that's kind of...
But it seems to that I would suggest that is such a big change from what we know, because Queen went on performing for years after Live Aid, and as I say, there was never any suggestion at the time that was going to be their last big deal. I don't know. Is it the fact that, as I said, Freddie Mercury was such a compelling character, and also who sort of created his own narrative and created legends about himself, that you feel free to do that in a Queen biopic?
Yeah, I mean, who goes to the cinema for the truth? Cinema verite sounds rubbish.
Okay, so it's still bringing in all the money, of course. The likes of Harry Potter, I think, is now...
Is he in it?
Harry Potter isn't in it, but Harry Potter's prequel series, Crimes of Grindelwald, and also The Grinch are vying for that crown. So I would expect that it's still going to be
Vying for Queen's Crown.
vying for the Queen's crown.
Flash, I love you, but we only have 14 hours to save the agenda.
You're listening to the Shires and Ireland agenda.
Shires and Ireland agenda, Tom Shires, Mike Ireland, movies and more. And do we want a man? Do we want a woman? Do we want a dog?
This has been the Shires and Ireland agenda.
It seems the jury is out and certainly undecided as regards who will be the next James Bond.
Yes, so the Hollywood Reporter and also a publication I was not aware of called the Morning Consult have got, I think, about 2,500 people in and asked them a number of questions regarding big film franchises and how audiences connect to them and also how they see their future going. And the headlines seem to be focusing in on James Bond because for some reason they ask more questions about James Bond than any other franchise. And although the Bond production team and the studio that make the Bond films, Eon, have spent years, I would say, almost perfecting the idea of evolving but without looking like they're evolving too much, they're perhaps in a bit of a quandary as to where to go next. And this survey doesn't really help them out too much because only 52% of people would support a black James Bond. 63% though would be in favour of Idris Elba.
All right.
Yeah, I don't really know how that works.
So they just not know who he is?
But 51%, so it's 52 that will be in favour of black James Bond. 51% of responders did at the same time as saying that they would be in favour of black James Bond, argued that James Bond's franchise was a classic franchise that should change nothing about its approach, including cast. So, how do you work that out?
Daniel Craig forever.
It was interesting.
He's all I need to please me.
It was interesting that
he can stimulate and tease me.
When they asked if they knew films, and they asked every single film in the Bond series, were these 2,500 people familiar with it? 12% of people had heard of Goldfinger.
Excellent.
18% had heard of Skyfall. And I think
Where was this survey done again, by the way?
I think it was
in America.
I think it was America. They did ask, by the way, about would you be in favour of an American Bond? And I think
110% said yes.
I think I'm right in saying that they weren't overly in favour. Does this help or does it hinder, or what does it tell you about audiences and their tastes going forward? The audiences don't really know what they want, and it's up to studios and to
dictate it to them. Yeah. And do we believe that Eon have had nothing to do with this? Do we think that they might have concocted a survey with predominantly James Bond questions, with a few thrown in there just to throw people off the scent so they could get this information? I'm sure there are more efficient ways and better ways that they could have gathered this information. I think it's troubling, but we know what Barbara Broccoli said over recent weeks, that she has a vision of what James Bond is, and that James Bond is a man, and if you want a super heroic female spy, then go and create one. But that doesn't address the issue of whether James Bond should be a white man or a black man.
No, it doesn't. Given the fact that she has said, and I think Idris Elba have said, that they have met to discuss things, I don't think they've been any more specific than about what they actually discussed. I would find it hard to believe that she wouldn't be prepared to cast Idris Elba or just a black actor as Bond, or an Asian actor or whatever as Bond. And I think if she wasn't going to go that way, would she have rowed back on it thus far? Would that just simply be, well, how would you necessarily row back on that? And if you were going to make that sort of statement, I don't know. Do you have a favourable impression of each of the following actors as James Bond?
Okay.
Sean Connery. The options, by the way,
he was all right.
Very favourable, somewhat unfavourable, very unfavourable, don't know or no opinion. In terms of the very favourable of Sean Connery, 61%.
That's good.
Very unfavourable, 2%.
Presidents will kill for that.
George Lazenby, very favourable. How many do you think, percentage-wise?
I think a solid 7%.
You're absolutely correct.
No way. I'm getting good at the numbers.
Very unfavourable.
93%.
7%.
Oh, okay.
So most people were actually middling. Roger Moore, very favourable.
Oh, I think people will love his cheeky humour over in the US, that crazy Brit. They're 53%.
42.
Oh, not far off.
Very unfavourable, 3%. Timothy Dalton.
They have no idea who he is, minus 12%.
14%. Very unfavourable is 5%. Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, they love him. They love him. The singing James Bond. He is in with 71%.
51%.
Oh, okay.
Very unfavourable, 2%. So he's actually not doing too badly. So yeah, in terms of Black Bond, strongly supported 29%, somewhat supported 23%. Hispanic Bond, strongly support 19%, somewhat support 20%. Asian, 17% in favour, strongly opposed 25%. Female, strongly support 20%, strongly opposed 32%. Gay, 15% in favour, strongly opposed 38%. Strongly supporting an American Bond, 32%, strongly opposed 15%. And as I say, it's 34% that say the Bond series should change with the times and have a more diverse casting character, but 51% say the series is a classic and nothing should change about it. It was 40% in favour of Idris Elba in terms of strong support, 23% in terms of somewhat support. And then they went through to ask how many people had watched, or had you watched a particular Bond film. I think the important statistic, the one that we all want to know, is do you have a favourable or unfavourable impression of the following Bond films? Tomorrow Never Dies. So very favourable, somewhat unfavourable, very unfavourable. What are you going for, Thomas, in terms of percentage? For very favourable.
Very favourable. I reckon that we're out on a limb on this one, Mike. I don't think people will agree with us because people know precious little. Very favourable. Tomorrow Never Dies. 18%.
38%.
Oh, I'm sorry, American public.
28.
I take it all back.
28%, somewhat favourable, very unfavourable, just the 2%. Let this agenda be a particularly unpleasant and humiliating one.
You're listening to the Shires and Ireland agenda. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-bum-t-bum-t-bum. Do you remember Orbital?
I
And
do remember
smash hit in the chart on the hit parade. I think it might have been on potentially now 37, but don't quote me. And we could be hearing that ringing out. Wasn't there a TV series that did or didn't happen?
We've had this discussion. There are lots of things that may or may not have happened with The Saint. In 2013, I think I'm wrong, 2012, sorry, an American TV channel cast the little-known Adam Rayner as Simon Templar, with Eliza Dushku providing support to, you may remember, was it Faith in Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Well, yes, I think, maybe, possibly.
Okay. The other Vampire Slayer in that show. He was cast. It was supposed to be a pilot for a series. The series was never made. It was only broadcast.
Couldn't fly a plane.
It was only broadcast.
Awful spy.
It was only broadcast in 2017. It did actually feature Sir Roger Moore's final appearance. He made a cameo appearance in The Saints. But yes, everyone's favourite debonair fixer might be coming back, with Paramount Pictures apparently in early negotiations with Star-Lord himself, Chris Pratt, for a
Is it everything these days?
Would you expect him, we just had this little discussion about nationality, would you expect Chris Pratt to play British?
Not only that, but he's a joker, isn't he?
I don't know. I thought that was Jared Leto.
Is it going to be a
Joaquin
send-off?
Phoenix.
Because if it's going to be a kind of tongue-in-cheek spy romp in the kind
Roger
of
Moore.
get smart type vein, then fair enough. But the idea of Chris Pratt playing British and straight, I'm not sure that's going to work. He's no good unless like Lego's involved or a dinosaur.
Okay. Did you have a favourite? No, we're not going back to that. Did you have fond memories of Val Kilmer playing the Saint in 1997? I think it was.
He plays a very good like.
I think we're the only two people that remember.
Doesn't he play kind of a crazy like old man that's a little bit aloof and?
He plays loads of different characters.
Yeah.
What I found out through reading about the Saints for this week is that it wasn't really that strongly based on the I want to say Leslie Charteris books from the 1930s. because the whole idea of him disguising himself as different saints, that wasn't in the book. The whole idea of him being a thief who isn't prepared to kill, that isn't in the book. In the books, he was quite happy to kill people. Actually, a lot of the things I like about the character were in the 1997 one and don't have their origins in the original stories.
Ba-ba-da-ba-bam-bam-bam. Is that Russian guy going to be in it? That's a Russian guy in everything.
What is also the one that Bruce Wayne gives his coat to in
nice
Batman
coat.
Begins. I certainly hope so. Is it that this is just another IP that for some reason studios think has some sort of value?
Did you do IP for intellectual property?
I did, yes.
You do all the lingo. Was it to save time?
It was to save time.
Excellent. I'm glad we
I can go back into percentages.
I just think, fair enough, established property. Do people care about the Saints? I mean, we could probably have the same conversation about Robin Hood later on.
We are going to have
Is it relevant? Do people care? Is it exciting?
Well, he's a guy who robs from the rich to give to, well, mainly to himself. I don't know. I think it could be done well, but I think they have to go light comedy with it and don't go too serious. And maybe Chris Pratt is the guy for that. But as you say, I don't really see him playing a suave Englishman.
No, and he doesn't need another film, does he? He's too busy, surely.
He's got enough franchises on his hands, his Lego hands.
How would he hold them? They'd have to have like a stick, wouldn't they? Given the kind of rounded hands of a Lego person, they would have to have some kind of prong.
Well, to be honest, I think if you made a stickman saint figure and you made it to scale for a Lego person to hold, I think it would work. Because it's a stick, isn't it, in the middle?
It's round, it's purple, it shows you what to view. It's Mike's Big W.
So it is time again for us to go through the major films that are on this week. The best of the best, the films that I have selected, we have collectively selected as the ones you should watch. I
wasn't involved.
In this week's random recommendations.
Preview film of the week?
Preview film of the week. You're doing the...
Mike's Big W? It depends when you're listening. If you're listening this week, then chances are you can catch one on the telly if you're listening in the UK. Otherwise, you might have to find it on a streaming service or go out and buy it.
Are you talking, well, we have been talking about relaunches that might not necessarily have worked and relaunches to come. If you remember a couple of years ago...
Preview film of the week.
If you remember a couple of years ago, last year in fact, Tom Cruise was starring in The Mummy.
I do remember. Tom Cruise starring in The Mummy. Tom Cruise is The Mummy? Spoiler alert.
Well, in 1959... Hammer Studios.
Tom Cruise was 12 years old now.
Hammer Studios made their own mummy movie, appropriately enough entitled The Mummy, and the man in the bandages was Christopher Lee. And although
it's pre-Dracula days or during?
This is
during his tenure.
It's sort of the height of Hammer, wasn't it? Really, at the time. It does also have Peter Cushing in it as well. So you've got the dastardly duo, the devilish pair of Hammer stars, and I think it's probably worth watching as a retro sort of view and to see how a studio that really understand what they're trying to do with a horror film can succeed, whereas Universal and their Dark Universe failed abysmally. And it's on Saturday night at 9 p.m. on the Horror Channel, appropriately enough.
Horror Channel, channel number 64.
Unfortunately, Thomas, it is channel number 70.
Oh.
But you were close. I think that deserves a point.
Thank you.
Moving on to channel number... ITV.
Channel number 3.
Channel 3. Also on Saturday at 11:15 in the evening. This is most definitely a film that Tom and I have fond memories of. Came out back in 1994. I saw it at a friend's birthday party for the first time. I can't remember where you've definitely said where you saw it for the first time, but I can't remember, so you'll have to tell me now. Jim Carrey in The Mask.
The Mask was, I think it released on my, would have been 9th birthday, 1994.
Yeah.
It was definitely a birthday treat.
Okay, and memorable for Jim Carrey at his, I would say even more so than Ace Ventura, at his sort of cartoonish 1990s high point. Also memorable for the debut performance of Cameron Diaz, who makes a... is it saxophone sort of playing, or what was it that's playing?
She walks into the bank and it's been raining and she kind of does the whole hair throwing thing, and It's just a very, very lush score from Randy Edelman.
Was it?
He was the king of the 90s score.
He really was. So on Saturday at 11 p.m, it's The Fugitive on ITV4.
ITV4, channel number 12.
24. If you doubled it, you would have been exact. And
channel number 24.
And that is the first of actually a pair of Harrison Ford actioners from the mid-90s. The Fugitive, probably the more acclaimed at the time, certainly got the Oscar-winning performance from Tommy Lee Jones as the US Marshal who's trying to track down Harrison Ford's Dr. Richard Kimball, who's accused of murdering his wife. But on Monday at 11 p.m. on Channel 5...
Channel 5.
It's
number 5.
It's Air Force One with Harrison Ford playing a sitting US president whose plane is hijacked. And is it Gary Oldman, I think?
Yeah, I think it is. Just this awesome kind of swinging between planes and hanging off things, and Jerry Goldsmith in fine form.
Okay.
On the score, by the way, he's not swinging on things. Not that we can see, anyway.
On Sunday, and we're keeping things in the air, actually, although this one very much based on a true story and an incredibly inspiring story. Kenneth More was one of the big stars of British cinema in the 1950s and the 1960s, but his most famous role is as Douglas Bader in Reach for the Sky, and the Lewis Gilbert directed effort is on Sunday on BBC Two.
Channel number 2.
At 3 p.m. So make sure to watch that for a classic piece of British cinema, as I say, a very inspiring story as well. The new Rocky film, Creed 2, is out in the next week, I think.
That snuck up on me.
Good
skills for a boxer, though. Never saw it coming.
Well, you can see the first entry in the Creed... I was going to say canon. What's the appropriate boxing?
The Creed Corner? No, Creed's Corner.
It's not Punch Bag, is it? Or...
No. Would be a kit bag.
Spittoon?
Oh, it's for, you mean like sponge?
Yeah, the bucket. I was trying to go for a higher end bucket. So it's the original Creed, directed by Ryan Coogler. It's of course gone on to great things with Black Panther. That's on Sunday on ITV2.
ITV2, channel number 24.
6.
What was it before? Was it ITV4 before?
Yeah, ITV4 before. And I'll also mention that on Sunday at 9 p.m, so lots of films on Sunday evening.
9.
It's on Channel 5.
Channel number 5.
Mad Max Fury Road. So it's I'm not sure whether it's a premiere, but if it is, well done Channel 5, because one of the most acclaimed action films of recent years. And I think people say it was a sort of... Scene stealing is perhaps unfair, because it is arguably her story, really, more so than Max Rottentansky. I'm trying to remember what Mad Max's real name is. Anyway, it's Charlize Theron who really does take all the credit in that one. But I'm going to pick out as our Freeview film of the week. I really did want to go for Jack Reacher and Never Go Back in response to last week, which is on Sunday on Film 4.
Film 4, channel number 14.
15.
Oh!
But the one we're actually going to go for is on Talking Pictures TV.
That's channel number 65.
81. It's The £1 Million Note, based on Mark Twain's story that would also go on to inspire Trading Places. Ronald Neame directs Gregory Peck in a story about an American sailor in Victorian-era London. He gets stuck on a boat, and his own boat is lost, and he gets caught up in a bet from two British millionaires who say that if they give him £1 million note, he will or won't, each brother takes a different point of view, be able to get by without actually spending it.
It is a mash.
It is a movie mash.
A movie mash.
A movie mash-up.
It is a mash.
It is a movie mash.
When the universe's most famous musical superstar is being threatened by an evil galactic overlord, only a ragtag bunch of alien misfits and Kevin Costner can protect her. I Am Groot will always love you.
Alright, so the Body Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, you're correct.
Oh, yeah.
This is movie mashups where we smash together two films that have got titles that run together and mix up their plots as well. So,
I need to sue Richard Osman. I think he stole this for his House of Games.
Is this a feature on I've never watched
There's
it?
Answer Smash that's quite a similar thing. You need to get on Twitter and be furious.
I think I'll have to get at the end of a very long queue. Okay, then. Moving on to the next one. When an impossible evil from before the dawn of time returns to threaten an oil pipeline, only the top member of Odin's secret service is up to the challenge. But how will he respond to the secret treachery at the heart of Asgard?
No actors.
No actors, no clue for actors.
All right, so Secret Service. So is it Thor? Thor something in there?
May well be.
Thor, Your Eyes Only.
Very good. That's
That's
nice.
But the world is not enough. Something to do with the pipeline.
Yeah.
The world is not.
This is a bit of a cheat.
The world is the world is not enough though. Is that the film?
Yes, it is.
But it's not Thor.
It is Thor.
Thor world is not enough.
Thor. What's the title of the second Thor?
All right, Thor: The Dark World is not enough.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Okay, moving on. Sent back in time, a sentient machine must protect the man it was created to destroy, the future savior of the human race. NASCAR racer Cole Trickle. He's back, and he'll leave you breathless.
So, sent back in time. It's Terminator Judgment Days of Thunder.
Terminator 2, Judgment
Days of Thunder.
Yeah, which again is a film I would really like to see. In an age of violence, a time of oppression, one small spotted breed will stand against an unstoppable invader, a cruel tyrant, for freedom, for glory, and because this is Dalmatia, based on a graphic novel by Dodie Miller.
All right, so 101 Dalmatians. Is that one of the films?
Yes, okay, yeah.
But I have no idea what the other one is. So, what they're standing up against? It's not like a V for Vendetta.
An unstoppable invader.
Unstoppable invader. 101 Room 101 Dalmatians?
301 Dalmatians.
Oh, okay.
Now, I was also trying to think of mixing The Empire Strikes Back with Back to the Future. Maybe a naive young hotshot going back in time, meeting a younger version of a strange old friend. He will probably come up with some cool new way to pod race, have to ensure his obsessive dad kills all the younglings at the Gungan Under the Sea dance. But then I thought there could be some weird incestuous overtones, and those would never happen in Star Wars.
Talking time and time again about getting bang for your buck. Obviously, so much streaming out there, so many people vying for the lovely, lovely cash that lines your pockets.
People want to make a splash?
Yeah, I think they do. And for me, I love it when the things that I subscribe to, the things that I pay for, pay more. Because it's really dividends time for Amazon Prime customers.
It most definitely is in the United States, we should stress, because Amazon is...
They have all the surveys, all the offers, all the questions.
Is offering its Prime members an exclusive early showing of the new Aquaman film coming out on the 15th of December. That's 6 days before it opens for the rest of the United States and North America, actually. They launched the promotion on Monday, under which Prime members can purchase up to 10 tickets through Atom Tickets, apparently, for the showing at more than 1,000 different theatres across the US. And director James Wan said, Aquaman is the superhero for everyone. He has unique aquatic powers.
Well, he can't swim. Some people are deathly afraid of water, and sharks. Octopus and jellyfish, they're scary.
Well, doesn't that make him more of a hero for those people?
Because he's friends with them.
Yes, and that means he can
stop them. But you can command them to do things to you.
You can also command them to stop doing things to you.
Yeah, but he's got to be there, hasn't he? What if they just go rogue? Oh, he's got his back turned.
So that's his fault, is it? Because they've gone rogue?
He's the king of that kingdom. The book stops with Aquaman.
Well, no, we'll find out if you see the film. I suppose that's...
He's going to find the trident. Come on.
He said, but he's also a surface dweller just like us. If we were all as cool as Jason Momoa, that is. He's got all the lines, James Wan. Bringing this epic origin story and the wondrous underwater world to the screen has been an amazing experience for the whole cast and crew, and I'm so excited for Prime members to be our first audience for Aquaman. It's not the first time this sort of thing has happened, because last year Amazon and Sony teamed up to.
Why didn't they do it with DC Universe?
You're saying there are better options out?
Well,
yes, that's what you're saying.
A huge selling point of that service launching in December could have been that our first Sony subscribers will get early tickets to one of our. Why are they giving props and opportunities to a rival streaming service?
I don't know.
It's almost like DC don't know what they're doing.
Well, is it that they wouldn't be in?
With the interest, yeah, I think you're probably right.
No, I'm going to suggest, as you have observed, the only people that are buying the DC Universe streaming service are people that are already into the DC Universe. Therefore, they're people that are already going to go and see.
So they're trying to reach new fans, maybe, rather than
they're trying to spread their waters,
spread their fins.
Yeah, just shake out their fins. Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's something that's just the sign of the way things are going? What do you think?
Like I say, if that was me, I'm a Prime customer, but in the UK, so obviously I'm not eligible for this offer, which annoyed me when you told me that piece of information.
It's one of many things I do that annoys you.
But what's wrong with that? I mean, the fact is that how many of these people would have been going anyway? I just think that anything that gives you added value on top of what you're already paying for is a bonus. And I think, to be honest, is Aquaman going to be the biggest thing that's ever happened? Probably not.
I'll come on to that.
If this was a Star Wars film or this was one of the big Marvel films, I think it might be a slightly different story. But I think really DC are having to throw everything they can at these projects because of the somewhat lukewarm reception that most of their previous installments, probably Wonder Woman being the only exception, have received. So I appreciate and respect the fact that they want to excite people and get people to the cinema. That's great. Will the film be all that? Time will tell.
And to go back to what Tom said about anticipation, and perhaps people aren't that geared up to the film, first day advance ticket sales.
Oh, it's going to give us some tracking information. Get ready for numbers.
Online ticket service Fandango say that they've eclipsed the Aquaman ticket sales, those of Venom and Mission Impossible Fallout, and they're two of the biggest hits of the year. Sony's Venom overperformed, of course, in the United States, and Paramount's Mission Impossible took 61.2 million over its launch weekend to Venom's $80.3 million. So they must be doing something. Word of mouth must be positive, or that people seem to like what they saw. So if they can right the ship, DC could be
on the ocean, which obviously Aquaman controls. It's the place to do it.
Do you also quickly mention the confirmation of the new title for Birds of Prey at this point?
Absolutely. So, Birds of Prey, which sounds like a David Attenborough documentary, is in fact 3 female superheroes.
Yes, it's Black Canary, Huntress, and Harley Quinn now as well.
Yeah. So it's Birds of Prey, and the
fantabulous contraption of Professor Horatio Huffnagel.
That's the one.
That's the Troy McClure from The Simpsons, isn't it? The fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Is that to get people in to see it?
Yeah. My problem is, why don't you make a Harley Quinn film? Why don't you go all out for it? I think obviously they see potential in the other heroes, so then we can roll things together. But this is DC's problem. It's like we have half a great idea, let's smush it together with half not a fantastic idea, and maybe something mediocre might happen.
We've got something that we're hoping is going to be our Guardians of the Galaxy, and people already like Harley Quinn, who people have said is our equivalent of Deadpool. Let's put them together, and that seems to be what's happened with this production.
You're lazy, DC. You're lazy.
Where's my sequel? Where's my sequel? I said, where's my sequel or prequel?
Just before we launch into this, a couple of things I realised about last week's programme that we need to rectify right now.
Let's do it.
The first is that George Martin's son is called Giles and not Rory.
I apologise. Has he got 2 children?
He doesn't, but they're both posh names, so I suppose we can be let off for that one. And also, we start talking about Oh What a Lovely War in relation to John Lennon.
He's not in it.
He's in How I Won the War, which is a very different film. Other than that, it was a perfect programme.
I thought it was particularly great.
Amy, actually, Mrs. Shires, she recorded Oh What a Lovely War. I think she made it about 20-odd minutes into it. Said, this is weird, I don't like it.
which, to be honest, sums up our show as well, I think. I may well get on to curating the playlist later. Anyway, confirmation this week that there is going to be a prequel film to one of the most acclaimed TV series of all time, arguably the TV series that kicked off the whole golden age of television that we supposedly live in now. That's right, The Sopranos is coming back now in movie form. It's going to be written and produced by David Chase, the creator of the show, but as it's a prequel and it's going to be set in the 1960s, no original cast members, as far as we can tell, are going to be coming back, although there could be characters from the series who appear in their younger form. And it's been also confirmed that The Many Saints of Newark, which is what it's going to be called, is going to star relatively little-known character actor Alessandro Nivola playing Dicky Moltisanti. He's the uncle of Tony Soprano. He's referred to apparently in the... I honestly can't remember. I've seen the series, but I can't remember him being referred to. But apparently he's referred to having died before the series started. It's going to be focusing in on the 1960s when there were riots in Newark, New Jersey, where The Sopranos is set, and conflicts between the African-American community and the Italian-American community were at their absolute height, and it's also going to chart the rise of the Sopranos as a family. So you could sort of say it's Godfather Part 2.
But done in film form rather than a series.
Yeah, and I'm wondering...
Sounds packed, doesn't it? It's a lot to get in.
It's a lot to get in, but I'm also thinking, is it because David Chase has got a very specific story he wants to actually tell, and also thinks it's timely? If it was a idea for a whole rise of the family and it was all going to be about that, I would have actually thought to differentiate yourself from something like The Godfather Part 2, you would make it as a TV series. And I'm sure HBO would be absolutely delighted if he did. But I wonder whether the fact that race seems to be a key element of what he's going to focus in on these particular events makes me think that the story is actually going to be quite focused, which is going to be interesting to see. And The Sopranos was, as I say, the series that kicked all this golden age of television off, and David Chase was the guy who was in charge of it for the entire run, and so highly regarded himself. I think it could well be a serious contender.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Don't stop believing.
Why, you speak of gender.
You're listening to the Shires and Ireland agenda.
Mentioned this earlier on in relation to the Saints, and have to raise it now really with the... What's the opposite of success? Would you say abject failure?
Abject failure,
absolutely. of the legend of Robin Hood.
It's just
Robin Hood.
Just got Robin Hood.
Just called, not even legendary. They got that bit right.
False advertising, if they had.
Of the latest Taron Egerton Robin Hood film, and that is that character interesting? Because my issue with it is that bloke robs from rich, gives to poor. Oh, some of the authorities don't like him. He's got some maids marrying. Is it all just not a bit ordinary and plain? Would you really struggle to reinvent that for a modern audience in a way that's going to captivate them in the way that an MCU film does, or any kind of character-driven piece does?
I think you can. I think it's definitely doable. Although I will accept that
in film,
the run of failures doesn't exactly help the argument. I think it can be done, largely because Robin Hood is I believe, a more malleable character than a myth or a legend. He's a folkloric character, so you don't really get any great character insights into his personality. So you can basically do what you want with it, and it is that generic or that loose a story that, as I say, it's completely free to interpretation, provided you've got an idea of what it is you want to do with it. And it seems like for the last couple of Robin Hood films, both of which have been called Robin Hood, the central idea hasn't been enough to grab people. I'm saying the Ridley Scott one was supposed to be, this is a sort of grounded, serious take on Robin Hood. But if the execution's not great, there weren't any executions in the film, it's not going to get people in to see it. This one seems to be a much more, this isn't your granddad's Robin Hood, and it's sort of mix and match of almost dystopian style imagery and sort of rebellion on the streets imagery, and if you don't come up with a core idea that carries it through, people aren't going to buy into it.
Is it because people think they've seen it all before?
Yes.
I think psychologically, Robin Hood cannot surprise me because I know what Robin Hood is. Whereas, for example, Aquaman is tracking to do great numbers because we've never seen that story before. Or
Right,
we've never seen it on that size and scale. But yeah, I genuinely think, for me personally, speaking on behalf of the public of planet Earth, Robin Hood is boring.
But yeah, I remember you saying you've seen 1938. So
I have. I own it on DVD.
and you like it.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of saying
It's quaint, it's fun.
So couldn't you make a fun Robin Hood now? Or do you?
I think you can do it in kind of Austin Powers, Men in Tights type. Well, Men in Tights. Just watch that. We've already made it.
No, but you don't think they could make a Guardians of the Galaxy sort of tonal vein Robin Hood now? You couldn't even make a self-aware Robin Hood now. You couldn't have it with... Well, Knight's Tale is something that people have been talking about a lot this week, saying that was a film that was in a medieval setting and had actual genuine medieval ideas about the class structure and all that sort of thing in it, but also had a lightness of touch and an awareness.
Was it Maid Marian and
a
Merry Men?
playfulness.
Was the BBC?
Yeah, it was, yeah. So you can capture that lightning in a bottle. It's just hard to do because people go into it with a set of expectations.
BBC's Robin Hood? Didn't it end up that someone else took on the mantle of...
Yes, it did. Jonas Armstrong, I want to say, was the original actor, and he chose to leave after a couple of series.
Didn't they kill Maid Marian as well?
I think they did, yeah. I think people decided that there were other options for their careers rather than Sherwood Forest.
Did you say Sherwood?
I just did then. I don't know whether I would have. I don't know whether I'm consistent in my pronunciation of Sherwood Forest. There we go. I love the stories.
He sure would say it funny.
I love the stories of.
He's got
Robin Hood.
books.
And I've brought
He's
books
got props, folks.
Yeah, we don't usually use visual aids during the show, but the one I wanted to bring in particularly was.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to read some of it. I'm going to make it interesting. Oh, wow.
Tales of Brave Adventure by Enid Blyton. I can't even find out when it was published, but I was given it as a little boy, and I can't even remember who it was that gave it to me because it was that long ago. And it really influenced my reading habits going forward. This
one says copyright 1963.
Okay, I didn't look hard enough.
Just read the books.
It's half stories of Robin Hood, half stories of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table.
Do you want a bit?
I want a bit, and just before you start, what do you want to say? What I love about it, looking back, is that the chapter titles are all things like How Robin Hood Became an Outlaw.
How Robin Hood Became an Outlaw,
Yeah,
we'll have it.
And all the titles are incredibly specific, which I like.
You ready?
Let's go. Copyright Enid Blyton.
1960, what was it?
63.
Robin was a strong and handsome youth, skillful with his bow and quick with his fists. He lived happily in his father's house, merry and glad the whole year round. His two great friends were Will, his cousin, and Maid Marian, and very happy were they when they played together in the greenwood they all loved. I mean, I can smell the money right now, Mike.
But yeah, I think it's one of those...
Then one day enemies came to attack Robin's father. In vain did his men, led by Robin, try to repulse the foe. The old man was killed, and his house was set on fire.
I like it like the children.
Interest. All his men were slain, and none escaped, save only Robin. He owed his life to his trusty bow, for so well did he shoot that the enemy did not dare to come near him.
Are we doing this every week now? Is this...
Fantastic illustration of him. The fight went on for half an hour, apparently, with Little John there. Little John?
Little John, yeah.
Little John.
So I, as I have a childhood attachment to Robin Hood because of that book and also because of the Walt Disney.
Who's the strange little
animation.
pixie urchin on the front?
It's a little boy who's read the book seemingly and
he's now climbing trees.
And
that's
he's now
reckless.
climbing trees and imagining himself as a heroic Robin Hood type figure. And as I say, I read it a lot when I was a child.
Can I just say, have you ever tried number 24, The Adventures of Mr. Pinkwhistle?
I most definitely haven't. It's one I will keep an eye on. Maybe Amazon Prime can give me some early access to it. I loved the animated Walt Disney version because I got that as a Christmas present in, I think, about 1989 when I checked, and it was out on VHS around then. And
Robin Hood, Little John walking through the forest, diddly-da-dee-dee-do.
And I also...
Diddly-da-dee-da-do.
And I watched it and still have it.
Do-do-da-dee-da-do.
And I also remember going to watch Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves when I was very young as well. It's probably one of my first visits to the cinema, of course, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
That's scary.
That's what I was going to say. Is that I think the BBFC confirmed that they should have rated it as a 15, and it's what ultimately led to the creation of the 12 certificate because it got put through as a PG.
Although it was 100 years since the Battle of Hastings, there was no real peace in England. William the Conqueror had... Is this a storybook?
Yeah.
William the Conqueror had divided the country amongst his followers, only in special cases leaving the old Saxon thanes the ownership of even a small part of what had once been their properties. Often they knew not...
Do you want me to tell you who wrote it?
Right, I can tell you who wrote it. You ready?
Yep.
Roger Lancelin Green became interested in myths and legends at an early age. His boyhood schooling was uninterrupted by bouts of illness. Oh, sorry, was interrupted. Was interrupted.
Otherwise they wouldn't say it. It's kind of... it's taken as read, isn't it?
It was very healthy.
He was best friend of J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. So he was
that's why it's long-winded.
He was the one that he went to their reading and writing groups with them. So he was the one that they would consult about all their various work, and he wrote adaptations of ancient tales and myths.
Thank you, Mike. That was almost interesting. Welcome back. You've been colourblind all night, Mike. Are you ready for the final round?
Forsooth, verily.
For tonight's grand prize, a box of Bertie Bott's every flavour beans, your category is Totally Potty. To celebrate the release of Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, all you have to do is give me the first and last names of the top 15 Harry Potter characters as named by Empire magazine this month. Now, to help you, they all feature in Harry Potter films.
Oh, thank you.
So there's no love for purely Fantastic Beasts, folks, at this stage. There are bonus points for quaffles, bludgers and snitchers, and this round may contain spoilers. The quiz ends when you can conjure your Patronus charm. Are you ready to begin? Expecto Patronum! Begin.
Harry Potter. Mr. Potter.
Mr. Potter is in at 3.
He's the third most popular character in his own series.
Yep.
Okay.
He's humble like that.
Yes.
He's not taking all the plaudits.
Severus Snape.
Severus Snape in at 1.
He's the most popular character.
He is the most popular character.
Ronald Weasley.
Ronald, excellent. Ron Weasley in at 2.
Okay. Hermione Granger.
Hermione Granger in at 4. You are doing... For someone who hates Harry Potter with a vengeance, is jealous, whose blood boils at the idea of J.K. Rowling and her
blood
money.
boils sound like something that a witch could impart upon you. Albus Dumbledore.
I can't believe you know his first name. I wrote clues next to them to help you out. I put long player for that one. In at 7, Albus Dumbledore.
Okay. Is it... Now, something McGonagall. I don't know what her first name is.
I don't know either. She's Professor McGonagall. She does not feature in the top 15.
Not that popular.
Not that popular.
Okay. Dobby the House Elf.
Dobby's in at 9.
Is he? Okay.
He's just called Dobby, but I put House Elf Gollumish as the...
Gollumish.
Yeah, they're probably
Is that
related.
his surname? Now what's the character that's played by Scottish actor? I don't need the actor's name.
Hagrid. First name?
Mr.
Groundsman. Think of another way for like a country bumpkin. What do they call a bumpkin?
Yokel.
Another word.
Idiot.
No, Rubius.
Rubius. Oh, okay.
Rubius, because he is kind of like Norfolkish, isn't he? In at 11, Rubius Hagrid.
There's other Dursley. Is there someone called the Dursleys?
It's Uncle Dursley, isn't it? It's who Harry lives with, not in the top 15.
Okay.
Not popular, are they, because they're baddies? Although, maybe a few baddies might help you out.
Is it Ginny Weasley?
Ginny Weasley is a character, but not in the top 15.
Okay.
Selling yourself, though, mate. It's good.
Someone Voldemort. I don't know what his first name is.
Well, he was Tom Riddle, wasn't he?
Okay.
He just becomes Lord Voldemort. He doesn't have a first name in Lord form. In at 10.
At 10. All right. Other ones now. Draco Malfoy.
Draco Malfoy in at 14. Excellent. Do you know what his dad's called?
Lucius Malfoy.
Lucius Malfoy in at 15. Shiny.
Okay, I'm really running now. Bellamy lad from the Twilight films.
Or Cedric Diggory.
Yes.
He's not in the top 15, but it's another good shout. Let me help you out. At number 13, my clue is pretty ruses are weird. What's a ruse? What is it?
A scheme, a
Or
plan,
or a magic,
spell,
or a magic. If it's a ruse, you kind of.
potion.
Well, it's
Paul Daniels' magic.
it's a ruse because you have been duped.
Jupiter something or other.
A magic something. You've been duped by what you've seen because it's called a
magic trick.
Yeah, so
Trick,
pretty.
tricksy.
Pretty. Something is pretty. In French, you would say it was.
Bow.
No, that's masculine. Well, that's masculine, I think. But what is it if it's a lady? Ring-a-ding-ding?
I should say. So.
What goes ring-a-ding-ding?
A bell.
Bell. So Bell.
Bellatrix Lestrange.
Bellatrix Lestrange in at 13.
Okay.
In at 12, she's an Irish character.
Oh, no idea.
And the clue is Moon. Think for Latin. Moon.
Luna
Yeah.
Lovegood.
Luna Lovegood.
I do know
Moon adores well was the clue.
Do you work for Times now? You interested?
Absolutely, I don't. In at 8 is a local lad, as it happens, who arguably is really the true hero of the story.
I know that. I can see his face. I know he's been in other things, and it's referred to the fact he looks quite a bit older, I think.
His surname, my clue is Lasting Derriere.
Longbottom, something Longbottom.
Yes.
Neville.
Yes, Neville Longbottom in at 8. Excellent. In at 6,
Spoilers, by the way.
Brer Rabbit. The first name is linked to Brer Rabbit.
Oh, God.
Uncle
Remus.
Remus. And the second name, this guy is a werewolf in his spare time. So kind of take...
Remus Lupin.
Yes!
Okay.
Oh, Remus Lupin. And finally, in at 5...
That's very popular, that.
In at 5, Harry's godfather.
Oh, he's the one that's played by Gary Oldman. Sirius Black.
Sirius Black. Okay. Mike Island, you are a winner. That Holy Trail does continue. So many trails landing in the past week or so. We're going to talk about the oldest one first, namely Tim Burton's Dumbo.
Which I was amazed when it was announced that there was going to be a Tim Burton directed Dumbo film, because I wouldn't have thought it was.
It looks big fishy, if you know what I mean. Have you seen Big Fish?
I've seen the poster.
Imagine that, but with an elephant on it.
and moving. So Dumbo is... Do we actually see him fly in the trail?
We do, but there's been a slight reimagining in the sense of it seems that Dumbo is befriended by the children of the circus owner. So it doesn't seem to. What's the little mouse called in the film?
Jiminy Mouse.
Well, Jiminy is featured.
It's
featured in the trailer, but it seems to be more about the kids' story and the fact that they discover Dumbo's abilities. We have the separation of mother and elephant, and then the idea of Dumbo branching out and seeking freedom, really, from what is the enslavement of the circus.
All right, didn't
it's dark.
Dumbo was dark. I think the whole sequence with Dumbo's mother is crying in the caravan, in effect, so the carriage that she's kept in, while Dumbo is outside, is very moving.
There's a whole kind of two trunks reaching out to grab each other moment, which is quite profound.
But other than that, it's a very light film. I mean, even the fact that the train is, I think, presented as a living thing in the animation. I'm assuming it's not going to be the case in this.
No, it just looked like a train.
Okay, does it feature Cedric Diggory, or whatever his name was? You know, the one that was in Twilight and was then in Taking Water for Elephants, something like that, a couple of years ago. Is it is it a shared universe?
Perhaps. No, it's not. But it looks like a strange kind of family film, to be honest. I'm not worried it's going to make a ton of money, and it does have a rather haunting version of Baby Mine over it.
Would you be interested, looking ahead, for Tim Burton to do something very different? Because he seems to have got stuck in this rut of, I'm just making very expensive CGI fest versions of animated children's classics.
Let me put it to you, Mike. How would you feel to be stuck in your rut with all your money?
A money rut, is that what we're calling it?
That's exactly where he is, and he's happy. The other trailer well worth checking out is that of the Lego Movie 2, the second part, in which Wild Style, his real name is Lucy, I think, and Emmett are in a kind of post-apocalyptic Mad Max-style looking world, looking out when they come under attack from Duplo.
Okay.
Wild Style is then kidnapped, and it's Emmett's job to go and rescue her with help from, I think also voiced by Chris Pratt, a character called, I believe, it's Rex. Is it Rex Wondervest? Or there's definitely a vest in there somewhere.
Okay, so we have to assume there's going to be some sort of shake-up or change-up, because the whole idea of the female character being kidnapped and being a damsel in distress would seem a bit retrograde.
Indeed, but Batman's there helping him out.
Oh, well, that makes everything better.
He's throwing batarangs at some huge Duplo kind of octopus thing.
Okay, and this picks up, of course, from where the first film ended with the appearance of the was it Duplo?
Duplo, we're here to
Yeah, so something is going to carry over from that. I think it was Alison Brie that provided the voice.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know if there's any kind of wall breaking again in the film, in the sense of who's playing with the Lego. Will they address that, or are we simply in world? Because Lego Batman, not a good film. Ninjago, sunk without a trace, which is probably good for a Lego ninja.
Although not good for the ocean.
Absolutely not. Where's that place where Lego's still being washed up because there was some Lego ship that went down?
I need to book a ticket.
So there was a Lego ship. It went down.
When you say a Lego ship, it wasn't
a ship. One of the pirates, the original 80s, 90s pirate sets.
I had the biggest one of those. I was very pleased.
And that's the end of this link.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
You forgot one very important thing, mate. On the agenda.
To the Shires and Ireland agenda.
See, he's probably also going to tell me they had the Knight's Castle as well. Did you have the
I
castle?
didn't have the biggest one. I also had the middle one.
Oh well, there is some justice in the world.
Okay, so this is also the week that saw The Rock turn up at a gym in Doncaster because he was in Yorkshire to film his new film Calvin and Hobbes. No, it's not Calvin and Hobbes, it's Hobbs and Shaw. So I was going to ask you, where would you take a major Hollywood celebrity? Would it be locally? Would you take Robert Downey Jr. to Bagshaw Museum, or what? Would you too busy showing Jennifer Lawrence around Crowness Park?
That's every Saturday in my diary. Difficult one, that, because so many places to eat. Royal Armoury is a bit good shout.
It would, yes.
Take anyone there. Everyone likes swords.
But what about, say, Cannon Hall? It's free.
Do they have a cannon?
They've got a small stone ram.
Needs more swords.
I've been Mike Ireland.
I've been Tom Shires.
And we'll be back next week.
Take care. It's alright now. I've got myself to my voice.